Changed the radiator on the LT1. Mine had a hole in it right here somewhere. And again, not sure why it got a hole. I use that little thermostat thing that kicks the fans on. For the life of somebody put a B-body motor in this one thing when I got it, and look at that. They've messed with the wiring. The fans don't kick on with the computer, which they're still wired to the computer, but they're wired to this thing now. And it's just one of them kits you get from Summit. The water comes in, it hits that, and when it reaches a certain temperature, it turns on right there in this box. And there's a little dial right there. I got it set at like 170. But those things are pretty cool. I like it. Christopher has one that his fans kick on with a little temperature thing inside of the head, which I guess I could have done that too, but on the 80 Camaro Trans Am, keep calling his car a Camaro. But yeah, I got the radiator in. I got these wires ran up here. These were the wires for the transmission. But this is the rear O2, which I've got those deleted a long time ago. That's the transmission plug. And this is your speed sensor. So I'm gonna cut all those off and put them up where if I ever want to put them back on, I can put them back on. This one I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna run it to the front wheel speed sensor for the Turbo 400 swap. And there's some math that you can do in the computer to make that read right, but that's another day. What I'm gonna do today is fill this thing up with radiator fluid. Start it up. It ain't been starting in a while. I like to start it at least over 2 weeks with that ethanol in there, E85. Right here's where it cracked. Put my finger in the way. Zoom into that. My phone is junk. Yeah, there you go. It cracked right there. All the way up into the side, and it was leaking. Wasn't leaking bad, but when the car got up to temp, it was psh, and out. So now your new radiator, it don't come with the fittings for the transmission lines if you got automatic. So you got to take those fittings out and put them in the other one. You also got to take your water level sensor out. And I just put the plug from the new radiator back in there. There's just a little clip. Take the clip off, pull it out. Then you can put the clip back on and push it on. It'll pop in place. But on the bottom of the radiator, this goes down in a hole down at the bottom. And there's a rubber thing that goes around there. And sometimes it stays on the car. And sometimes it sticks to the radiator. And then on that side, in the bottom of the car, there's just a rubber thing that goes around this piece. But that's how that goes. And then I had this transmission cooler, and I had it running back through the radiator. And I did have AN lines up to here, but where we're doing the Turbo 400, and then we're turning up the pressure on it for the trans brake, we don't want no rubber lines at all, because if that busts and get under your rear wheel when you're doing 130, they're not going to be fun. The transmission cooler I'm going to put on, it's going to go in the same spot. You see I've already got the AN lines from the transmission down there. There's 2 of them there. The other one must have fell. But anyway. The transcooler is going to go in the same spot on the radiator, except for the transcooler I get this time is going to be the one with the AN fittings instead of the hose fittings. That way we got no rubber lines with that high pressure Turbo 400 transmission. But anyway, let's put some radiator fluid in and start this thing up. Also, for the 80 Trans Am, we got a custom grind tick cam. He had I was going to go through Lloyd Elliott, but everybody kept telling me that he was out of camcorders. So Tick Performance, Jonathan Atkins, he said that he had one and he had a cord ready to go. So I got a custom nitrous cam for the 1980 Trans Am, and we're going to take the intake off and send it to Lloyd Elliott for him to port it. I'm going to contact him and talk to him about that. The intake on it's the professional, I think it's professional something Hurricane intake, single plane, but yeah, we might start on that next, because that LT1, it's waiting on a camcorder, and it's 5 weeks out, so might go ahead and start on Christopher's car. I don't know, maybe I'll start on it tomorrow. Get that intake out, get the cam in it. Might as well. I really wanted to pull it in the garage and work on it, or the carport makeshift garage, but I think it'd be fine working on it out there. I'll just put a tarp over the motor. Water does get in there if it rains really, really hard, like it's raining sideways, but water will come up in the cowl. But I got a big tarp I can set over the motor, some rags and a tarp. I might go ahead and start on that. Just need to drop the oil pan, take the intake off, distributor, carburetor intake, and take the rocker arms loose, take the push rods out, take the lifters out, take the balancer, timing cover, and then take the timing chain and the cam out. Hopefully it'll clear the radiator. He's got a lot of room in there, but if it don't, I have to take the radiator out too, which sucks because I just put antifreeze in that thing. Antifreeze is kind of expensive. But anyway, let's put some antifreeze down in here. See what we got. So what I usually do is I put the antifreeze in here. I wait, let it go down. Put more in it, wait, let it go down. Put more in it, wait, let it go down. Until it's not going down no more. Which is about, looks like it's where it's at. And then at the same time, I'm under here checking for leaks. I don't see any leaks. Once I get it to where it don't go down no more, which it looks like that's about where I'm at. And maybe my car bleeds better than everybody else's, but what I usually do is I start the car up, I let it get up to temp, I see the flow in here. You'll see it flowing in here. And then I'll add as it wants more. And then once it don't want no more and it starts blowing the coolant back out, I put the lid on it and I shut it off. And I let the motor cool all the way down. I'll take the lid off, I'll put some more in it. I put the lid back on, I start it, I get it up to temperature. And then I shut it off and I let it cool all the way back down. And then I put more fluid in it as needed until it doesn't need any more fluid. And that usually gets all the bubbles out for me. It works every time on this car. And it works on Chris's car. But everybody says, oh no, you gotta do this and this and that. That's what I do and it works every time. But anyway, I'm gonna start it up and let it get up to temperature and add some more as needed. And see where it goes. Now this thing ain't been started, and I'd say about 2 months. Let's see how it starts up. Oh, actually, I'll have to get under here first. I got my knee pillow. I don't mind laying on these gravels at all, but man, they kill your knee. So I'll use that pillow. Wow! Making sure there's nothing in the way of the flywheel. And I don't see anything in the way. So we're good there. Alright. Y'all can come with me. Let's see how it starts up after it's been set in a month or so. 2 months. I'm just going to reach in here. I'm going to open the door. Prime the fuel system. Started right up. No leaks. We'll just let it run till it warms up. Add more fluid as needed. That's about as warm as it ever gets. It pushes the bubbles out. Just keep an eye on the temperature. The fans ain't kicking on for some reason, so I might have to mess with that. So I went ahead and shut it off. It was getting hot. The fans didn't kick on for some reason, so I'm going to have to figure out why that's not working. Because they should be on right now. But these hoses are not hard like they should be for the temperature it got up to. But for some reason, it don't seem like the thermostat's opening. Because this should be, according to the temperature gauge, it got up to like 220. And this car never even gets close to that hot. It's got a 160 thermostat in it. Well, after I shut it off, it went down to 180. But it was up there. It don't act like the temp. Well, the fans ain't coming on because the key's on right now, and they should come on. So I'm going to adjust on that a little bit. Maybe I knocked it out of adjustment. But, I mean, these hoses should be kind of tight. And they're not tight for some reason. For as hot as it got. But you notice the coolant went down. Never, ever, 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 ever put coolant in a hot car when it is not running. You will break something. Again, never, ever, ever put coolant in a hot car when it's not running. If you ever have to add coolant to a hot car, make sure you start it, then put the coolant in it. But the key's on, so these fans should be coming on. They work on key on. So I'm going to mess with this a little bit. See if I can't get these fans to come on. But maybe it reads the temperature over here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, there it is right there. It reads the temperature right there. So, on the gauge. This one on the water pump reads it on the computer. You can't hardly see that one. Let's see. Yeah, right there. That one tells the computer what the engine coolant temperature is, and this one tells the gauge. And the gauge got up to, well, it's sitting at 180 now, and this radiator is still cold as can be. So that's why the fans didn't kick on. I bet you anything that thermostat's not opening. Well, I tell you, it's one thing after another. That thermostat was working just fine the other day. But I'm going to start it back up and put some more fluid in it and see if it'll, maybe just where it's been setting 2 months, it was kind of sticky. I don't know. I'm going to start it back up and fill the radiator back up and see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I should have had to at least put 2 gallons in there. And I haven't even put a gallon in it. Because when you take the radiator off, some of it comes out of the block and all of it comes out of the, well, that's a new radiator. So all of it comes out of the radiator, typically most of it anyway. And that should at least held 2 gallons, I would think. But yeah, I don't think it's getting to the motor. I think the thermostat's sticking. But I'm going to start it back up and put more fluid in it, let it run a little bit more, and see if it'll open. Maybe it's just stuck, like I said, where it's been sitting 2 months. But yeah, man, this thing's been sitting 2 months, and I don't know, it's like 50 something out on ethanol. It starts right up, and hats off to James Short at Short Tuning. He tuned this thing, did a great job. He won't usually tune LT1s unless it's 24X swap. As you can see, we got the torque head 24X swap. That's the reluctor wheel right there. It's into my fingers. And then the torque head's the opti, and then there's the wires for the cam and the crank sensor. And the LS0411 computer just goes over there in the stock location. You just use a tray off of a, well, from what I understand, the 98 cars, you can't use the tray off those. It has to be a 99 to 02, I guess. But anyway, it goes in the stock location. Anyway, start it back up, put some more antifreeze in it, and see if that thermostat will pop open. If it don't, then I'll just have to replace it. So that didn't help. I'm going to go ahead and take the thermostat out. So I just took the intake off, set it over to the side. And it's just these 2 bolts. Now, if you ever wanted to bleed the system, park like uphill or something, you can use this little screw to bleed the air out of it. But I don't think that's a good thing to use, especially if you have the opti, because water will get on your opti. And water on the opti, if it ain't sealed good and it gets inside there, it causes a lot of problems. A lot of cars I've seen too, they'll have one on the heater hose that comes off, but mine don't have one there. But yeah, I'm gonna take those 2 bolts out. Shouldn't much fluid come out, because that's actually the highest point the fluid goes, is right there. And on these, it don't go into the intake, so it does come up to the intake though. It just deadheads there. So that's the highest point. But so yeah, a lot of fluid shouldn't come out. So I'm gonna take the thermostat and I'm gonna put it on this bullet, and I'm gonna see if it'll open. Because the radiator, the car's getting up to like 220, and the radiator isn't. I mean, it's cold. It is cold. So we're definitely not getting no flow, and that's a brand new water pump, which doesn't mean nothing these days. Shoot, you buy brand new parts these days and they don't work. So I'm gonna take the thermostat out. All right, I got the thermostat out. It's right here. Some of these require a gasket and some of them don't. The ones with the rubber seal on them, they seal themselves just by when you clamp it down. But yeah, let's go put this in some boiling water. See if it'll open. It's not. Usually you can push those open. This one's not pushing open. So let's go boil it and see if it opens. Alright, got that in some water. You want to boil it and see if it opens. I doubt it will, because usually you can push those open. Especially, that one's only at 160 degrees, so it should open easy. And I cannot push it open. It's got stuck. So we'll let it boil, see what happens. Alright, so there it is. It's boiling. Water boils at what, 212 degrees? Actually, this is a 180 thermostat. I took the 160 out. And let's see. It did open. It is opening, so that's working. Let's see, it's got a hole through there. Let's close that hole shut. We'll set it right here. So that's open. So that's opening. I don't know what's going on. Didn't seem like the water was flowing. I wonder if they put some caps in the holes on that radiator that I was supposed to take out and didn't notice. See, it's closing now. It's about closed. So the thermostat checked good. So what I'm going to do, I'm thinking maybe there just ain't enough water in the block to get all the flow going nice and good. So I'm going to wait for the motor to cool all the way down. It's still a little bit hot. And I'm going to pour fluid directly in this hole, which is going to fill the block up. And then put the thermostat back on and see what happens. I think that thermostat, I had a 160 in this thing back when I was running on gasoline, but I'm pretty sure this is a 180. They'll usually say on it somewhere. There's some right in there. That just says motor AD or something like that. But anyway, I'm pretty sure this is a 180. I went to a hard thermostat because it's running ethanol. But yeah, I'm going to let it cool all the way down. I don't think there's enough fluid in there to get flow going to hit the thermostat to open it. Where we drained it all out. So, yeah, I'm going to pour it directly in that hole. I did pour fluid in the radiator and it came out here, so that tells me that there's no caps on the radiator that I forgot to take off. I thought maybe there might have been a cap down inside of it, you know, to protect it, but I just think there ain't enough fluid in the block to get the flow to get to the radiator to open the thermostat. So yeah, wait for it to cool all the way down, pour it directly in here, fill it all the way up, then put the thermostat on, then fill the radiator up, start it, and try it again. See what happens, but it'll take a few hours for it to cool down. It's flowing now. What I did was I pulled the thermostat, got it to open. I poured fluid directly down in the thermostat hole to fill the block. Now it's working good. Got good flow. We're getting heat in the radiator. And we're staying right around 180. Where the thermostat's at. Car's been running about 30 minutes. I'm gonna let it run a little bit longer just to get some air out of it. But look at that, good flow. Flowing good, no leaks. Yeah, good. Got good heat in the radiator now. It's flowing now. I don't know if it was the thermostat stuck or if we just needed more fluid in the block just to get things rolling. But it's working good now. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off and adjust these fans to come on right there because that's as hot as I like to get it. But yeah, it's working good now. Good flow, the radiator's getting heat in it. I'm gonna go ahead and put the cap on it. When it cools down, that level sometimes goes down. And when it cools down, if that's the case, I'm gonna put more wind in it, run it through another heat cycle, let it cool all the way down. If it's low, put more in it until there's until it's completely full. And it should kick some of it over here when that happens, but yeah, doing good now, no leaks. I got the key on, so these fans should come on. So I'm gonna adjust on that. See if I can't get it to kick on. But I need my really small screwdriver. And I just don't know where it went. I don't know where it went. Well, let me find this. Dang it. Kind of need to do that in a hurry. I should have found that before I shut it off, I reckon. But I guess we can start it back up and get it back up to temp. But let me go find that little screwdriver. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this little screw for this little thing I got. I'm going to turn it counterclockwise until the fans come on. If I can find the hole. It's hard to find the hole. Okay, that came on. Just barely turn it until they shut off. Right there. And then we'll see, it takes a really small screwdriver to get in there too. And then we'll see, it took me about 5 minutes to find that. So let's see what the temperature's at. Yeah. There's where the temperature's at. So yeah, that ought to be perfect. It'll kick on anything a little higher than that. All right. We're set. Then like I said, the way I bleed these, I run it up to temperature. I let it cool completely down with the cap on it. I run it up to temperature, let it cool all the way down. And then after it cools all the way down, the level drops. And I put more in it, run it up to temperature, etc. I keep doing that until it doesn't want any more fluid, and that always bleeds them out for me. But I broke my screw clamp that goes on my intake right there, so I'm gonna have to go get another one of those. I don't think that would pop off, but we'll get one just in case. But yeah, works good now. All set and all happy with that. And then tomorrow, oh well, we forgot our intake air temperature. We're probably going to need that. This thing is running on speed density. It's one of the main things. But yeah, here we go. Yeah, that's it. Got the radiator in. Still got to do the, going to do a cam, nitrous cam, and port the intake for Chris's car. See if it'll, because Chris's Trans Am, it's not taking more than 200 shot of nitrous. I mean, that's just, if we go over a 200 shot, it just ain't picking nothing up. I mean, from 150 shot, we did a 10.6, and then 200 shot, we did a 10.2, and then we put a 300 shot on it and got a 10.1, so that just ain't adding up. There's something restricted, and I think it's the cam. The cam is a motor cam. Motor cams actually work better on nitrous up to about 200 horsepower. After 200 horsepower, you pretty much need a nitrous dedicated cam for the nitrous to flow the way it needs to flow. And the trans brake for the Turbo 400 is going to be here Monday. So that's actually going to be the next thing we do. I'm going to use this green stall converter we took out Chris's car, which I think is like a 3200. And I'm just going to use that for now. Put it in with that. That way I can get the drive shaft measurements, get everything in, get the car running, test the trans brake, and then I'm going to buy a Circle D 4000 stall, and then we'll put that in there. But and then we still got the LT1 we got to build. So like and subscribe if you guys want to see more of this stuff. Have a good day.